over, pick your state. We haven't got down to the what state or what specific location it'll be, but we'll have something called the Demon Rains, which is part of an emerging flood mean that we pulled out last year, and that was kind of a prequel to this next round of flooding that comes along with this out-of-season wind.
Okay.
All
right.
Now it's about to get weirder. We're likely to hear calls for early elections because of the inability of the federal government. Again, I'm not saying they have an inability. I'm just saying in model space, it looks like people are going to be so upset with the collapse of the economy, the lack of response to this, whatever the natural disaster is, that there will be actual calls for early elections and possibly early elections themselves, because there's a lot of another meme, if you will, in model space is about something called secrets revealed. There's a whole cloud about how a couple of well-placed insiders in fact, I've got it written down month by month. In January, we're going to have secrets revealed, which is a thought virus, if you will, that's been running for some time. And it will come out related to something unauditable, but it will be of such a magnitude that we may see a couple of the presidential wannabes pull out of the race because of their disclosures to what in model space looks like the financial powers that be, I don't want to say NWO, but powers that be behind the throne pulling the corporate strings. Make sense?
Okay, so the prediction there is that there would be a call for an early election because some leading candidates will be linked to something that's so disreputable, an international conspiracy of sorts, that America wants the election to come faster in order to stabilize the country.
Yeah, and in the wake of the natural disaster and the economic meltdown.
See, I could see America calling for early elections just because, judging by the people in Iowa and New Hampshire, just because we're so sick of political commercials and all of the posturing that goes on TV. We want it over like in July, just because.
Yeah, really. And let me even say July, because we actually showed that. Well, I'll get to it in a sec. But as I work through the months for you, you'll see it. What happens in February is that's when we get the real acceleration in the employment crashing. And that's going to be due to high prices. Food begins to enter its encounters with scarcity. We've been looking at that in model space for about 2.5 years. And the longer lead time we get on things, the bigger they turn out being. Big event like the Banda Aceh earthquake, we picked that up, or references to land sinking, 300,000 dead, driven back to a previous age. We picked that up in August of 2004, which, 4 or 5 months before the December quake. So when we get something 2.5 years in advance, then that, like the death of the dollar, is also a long carry value. So it's going to be emotionally incredibly stressful for people. And the key thing in February is that because people's ability to live is generally so closely tied to debt, we're going to see the beginning there of massive credit card repudiation and people saying, well, the heck with this, and I'm not going to pay my credit cards back because I need some cash for food, and I got to have a roof, and I got to have gas. And so this will be the start of civil disobedience to the, I don't want to call it corporate cannibalistic powers that be, but you could kind of sort of call it that.
I want to get back to what happened in July in a second. Let me get Chris in Phoenix on Coast to Coast AM for George Ewer making predictions based on his internet research. Chris?
Hello.
Hi, go ahead. You're talking with George Ewer.
Hi, George. I have a question. All my funds, my excess funds, are tied up in IRA. Would you suggest that I get out of those before this crash?
I don't tell anybody what to do. What you do with your money is your deal. What I've done with my money, a couple of years ago saw this coming, bought a small ranch, 30 acres or so in East Texas, got it paid for. We are 100% self-sustaining if we needed to be. Other investments are in physical gold, physical silver, and plain commodities. The reason for playing commodities, it sounds kind of strange, but if your U.S. dollar is going down, if the dollar is halved in value between now and, let's say, middle of the year, July, then the price of commodities will likely double. In other words, $100 oil tonight may turn into $200 oil in July. So if you understand commodities and are willing to take risk of losing all of your investment, like I am, then you might want to buy maybe an oil call option, and those can, depending on how you do, I don't know, 300% since July when I got back into commodities is not a bad return.
Okay. So is that what you're talking about then is happening in July? Is our value of the economy essentially be halved?
Yeah, or more, and probably before, because, getting back to this March thing, we're now in March, and the model space in March is very clear that we have this millions of small financial particles causing problems. And to us, linguistically, small financial particles probably means all those little, buying a cup of coffee and using your credit card for it. And curiously, one other temporal marker to be looking for in there, in late March, we see a female leader figure of some kind who's going to fit into a role as a social unifier for the financial rebellion revolution meme. Likely she will be recently coming from or out of South America, Central America, and it might be somebody like, do you know who Vandana Shiva is?
No, I don't.
Okay, she's a PhD out of India, very involved in fighting globalism and fighting for, fighting corporations, trying to patent seeds and so forth. And she was actually active in the Chipko movement in the 70s in India, where people put their arms around trees, and that's where the phrase tree huggers came from. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't, but so you see her as being a unifier?
Somebody like that is going to pop into media consciousness, mainstream in the U.S. as a result of what's now developing into this horrific mess.
Okay. And are there any bright spots ahead as you look? We just have a little time left. So
okay, sure.
As you look ahead, is there anything worthy of investing other than the ones you mentioned, or areas of the economy that might be growing that people could pursue for their own personal security or family safety?
Let me click through the notes real quick. April, we've got natural disasters. That doesn't sound like much fun. That's when that shows up. Veterans may take over a national monument someplace in the May-June period. So you might want to own insurance stocks, things like that. Summer of 2008, cities are going to be a mess. Again, the thing there is people will be time shocked or time stunned. So really, the only optimistic point is around September, and that's because people are going to have the sense of renewed optimism that, the corporate game can be changed, and this us against them looks like people's victory in the revolution or revolutionary thinking or revolutionary change meme. And in that kind of an event, all I can say is have food, have water, have self-sufficiency, get some skills that can run without electricity. Think about if paper stopped working, if ATMs were shut down because the power is out, because that's the kind of thing that is likely to happen when we get into October.
Okay.
One last
quick here.
Yes,
be quick. Using
Global Coastal Event 2009.
Global Coastal Event 2009?
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Glaciers falling into oceans causing flooding.
In 2009?
Yeah, we got till 2009 to build those.
Okay. Thank you, George. Enjoy your research here, and I'll be watching your predictions as we will continue in the George Norrie's annual prediction show to find out who else is going to be offering some good or bad news about 2008. Doesn't sound too good so far.